morning. Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. And we got a beautiful sunny Sunday day out here. So I'm going to take an opportunity and make a video. I want to I want to do a video. I want to take something that I said in another podcast earlier, and I didn't say anything wrong, and nobody has taken it as wrong. Okay, but I do feel like I need a little bit of clarity. Okay, and I want to take and jump off of that and go on further on the subject. When I did the podcast with Chris Williamson several months ago down in Texas, at some point in the conversation, I said I see myself as the anti David Goggins. Now I forget that not everybody is as literary minded and vocabularies are different. And then I saw yesterday where Chris had put out a short, had put out a video, and he mentioned specifically Dwayne, the differences between Dwayne and where Dwayne said he was the anti-David Goggins. Now, I agree 100% with everything that Chris said. This is not there's no defense, nobody said anything wrong, but I feel like I want to expand on this and clarify this. When I said that I am the anti-David Goggins, I meant in your comic books, you got the anti-gravity boots. So it's the opposite effect of gravity. It's not anti as in I'm against David Goggins and David Goggins' message. And if that's how that came across, then I apologize for being unclear. And like Chris said in his video, men, and because I'm talking to men, we're all different. Not only do we all have different personalities, we're born different, but we all have different cultural backgrounds. We have different family histories. We have different physical attributes that are positive and some that are negative. We all have to face life from where we are. And there are, by the way, before I forget, I got me another box of Brickhouse Maduro 6x60s in. There you go. Some of you not going, you don't hear a word I say till you find out, what is that cigar? But so David has his message, and his message is correct for who he is and where he was and where he came from and what he needed. And my message is pretty much the exact opposite of his message, okay? But there are people who are the exact opposite. And what we have to do is we have to find our balance from these messages in life of what works for us. And Chris is very, and this is positive. This is all complimentary. Okay, there's nothing negative on here about this. Chris is very, he works out and he's physical, but he's also a very intellectual fella. And I mean that in a good way. All right. But there's people out there who are looking for help that are not, they're not overly intellectual. And I don't mean they're not smart. I'm not saying that at all. But there's blue collar working men who are raised by blue collar working men who may or may not have made it through school, not because they didn't have the intelligence to make it through school, but because our modern public education system is not set up to benefit boys, how boys think and how boys, and so there's a lot of smart men out there who were not helped much by the public education system. And so they did not take a path they did not take an intellectual path of reading philosophers and reading these guys. And so they need something that's going to fit the message that they're looking for and that they can assimilate. Okay? And they don't have the and they don't have the trauma that someone like Goggins might have had in his youth. They don't find themselves where David found himself when he went in the military. That's not what they're dealing with. So that message is not the message for them. They don't find themselves where I found myself, overly passionate, temperamental, bad-tempered, feel things to the max, attack things to the max. So I came in as a child, I was skinny. I was not athletic. I was the only son with 3 younger sisters. And so my shortcomings, I had to find a way to overcome my shortcomings. And the way I overcame my shortcomings was, we'll just hit everything at 100 miles an hour. I got into a fight in high school. It wasn't a fight, that's not accurate. Very strong disagreement with another guy in school. And it came to where it was going to come to blows. And he walked up to me, I'm telling you this for a reason. He walked up to me, and I'm literally looking at his shirt pocket. Okay? And so I reached up, both hands, and I took him and I shoved him as hard as I could. I mean, I just hit him with both open hands on his chest as hard as I could. And he looked at me, shocked, and he said, do you not realize that I could absolutely pulverize you? And I said, look, I'm going to get beat up today. There's nothing I can do to get out of that. I'm going to get beat up today. So I have decided that you can do it, but you're going to have to do it. You have to physically do it. Just because you can, that's not enough. We're going somewhere. You have to physically do it. I know you can do it. You know you can do it. But you have to actually do it. And he looked down at me and shook his head and walked away. Now, I don't know what the proper message I should have took from that was. But the message I took was, as a little skinny dude, ferocity and obnoxious aggressiveness will get you through where muscles won't. And so I adopted that in high school. Well, when I became a man and I got out in the world and I got bigger and I got more fit, I didn't lose that. And there's things in life that you can do as a 15-year-old that's not as acceptable when you're 35, 20 years later. And so I found myself in another place where I'm like, I have to adopt a change. So I adopted a change of approaching life in a more calm, reasonable, logical manner, because that's who I was and that's where I was. Some people, they're in a different place. They have to do something else. I'm going to ask Mama to help me. Mama, am I making any sense here? Is this okay? All right. I feel like I'm swimming through molasses here. No. Okay. I've gotten a lot of blowback on here because of my opinion of the Tate brothers and how they started out. And people have said, well, they helped me because that's where I am. That's because where I was as a young man. Look, people come in or their horsemanship, or I get new horses in. I can't approach every horse exactly the same because they're not the same. They don't have the same fears They don't have the same history. They don't have the same weaknesses. They don't have the same background. So I have to take each horse as an individual, and I have to bring to that horse what that horse needs. It's the same with students. I have students who come in who are 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And they know everything, they've done everything, and they can do anything. And they approach a horse like they're jackhammering concrete. And so I've got to go to them and I've got to say, look, you've got to chill out. You've got to chill out. Okay, that's where they are. That is the message they need. And then I've had some ladies come through that were very timid, terrified. I had a lady this year, bless her heart, sweet lady, very sweet lady. Her and her husband come through. She was terrified. The approach that I had to approach her with was absolutely, totally different than from a fit, buff, 35-year-old ex-military covered in tattoos. Totally different, okay? And that's how you have to find your help. You have to look at where you are and who you are. And you know, for the sake of your mentality, for the sake of your emotions, for the sake of getting to a place in life that you need to be, you might need to run until your kneecaps are shattered and your shins are broken and you might need that, okay? Because you've got to sacrifice so much of your physicality in order to heal so much of your mentality and your emotions. And sometimes the price you've got to pay is a physical price for a time. But it may be to the point that you have paid such a price physically that you've got to swap and come around. And the physical is destroying you. And another thing I want to point out is it changes. It changes. The answer for what you need today is not necessarily the answer you're going to need in 10 years. All right? Goggins is 50 years old. I looked it up. Okay? I will be 58 next month. That's 8 years. I guarantee you that his message will most likely have softened within 8 years. When he's looking at 60, some of his approach, and it's natural, and it's the way it should be, some of his approach will have softened. I'm further down the road in life than he is. Okay? And so you have to keep that in mind. You have to keep, we're always adjusting. Okay? We're always adjusting, and we adjust as to what we need. And what you do is, as you're fixing, as you're improving your life, it's not all Dwayne. And it's not all Goggins. It's not all Chris Willicks. It's not all whoever. It's like, I need a little bit of this from Dwayne, but I need a little bit of this from David. And man, this from Chris will help me. And so I need some of that. And you got guy number A and guy B. Guy A may need to take on about 60% more of Dwayne and 30% of Willicks and 10% of Goggins to create what he needs. And guy B might need to take on 60% of Goggins and 30% of Willicks and only 10% of Dwayne. Okay? Because we're here, the dogs come say hello. Y'all don't hit that camera. Okay? So I wanted to expand on that thought. I have preached from the very beginning about balance, and we need balance. Okay? And your balance and my balance are not the same. My balance and David's balance are not the same. David's balance and Chris's balance are not the same. Okay, so your balance and David's balance is not the same. And so you need to have the self-awareness of the different weak spots in your life. And you need to find the advice and the help from the appropriate source to help with your own particular weak spots. And your weak spots are going to be different because you're an individual person. You have your own personality. You have your own culture and society that you grew up in. You have your own history and experiences, and they're going to form you into a different person. So don't just pick one person and say, I'm going to model myself after them, because you're not them and they're not you, and it's all good. So I don't know David. We've never met. We've never spoken. I'm 100% sure he has no clue who even I am. Okay. So, but I just wanted to say, when I spoke about that, what I was saying was I'm on the opposite end of what I needed in life. I was not speaking against his message. Okay. All I was saying was his message is for the complete opposite spectrum of guys than my message is. All right. And I know a lot of young men have really been listening to me, and they hear what I say. And so I don't want you to unnecessarily say, Dwayne is against this, and so therefore that's bad, so therefore I should not take anything good from that. Okay, I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm good. I'm saying if you focus on that, you're going to leave a lot of other holes in your life. But it's all about balance. That's what I always teach, what I've always taught to you guys, and it's about balance. Sometimes your biscuit needs a little more salt and a little less baking powder. Sometimes your biscuit needs a little less salt and a little more baking powder. All right, so you can make the best biscuit you can make. All right, sometimes your oven ain't hot enough. Or sometimes your oven's going to burn them biscuits as soon as you put it in the oven. You've got to find your balance, all right, to turn yourself into the best biscuit you can turn into. All right, so I hope you have as beautiful day as I am, and just don't stop working on yourself. Say, Dwayne, what am I looking for? You're looking for balance. All right, you're looking for balance. And we all search for people who've been through things that we haven't been through yet, who can help us through that path. And get help from everybody you can get help from. All right? So we'll talk to you guys later. Be logical. Be reasonable. Be safe. Have fun. And be balanced. We'll talk to you guys later.